Hi everyone, my name is Charlotte and you are joining my podcast Winslow, where I go over my life's experiences, my trials, what I have learned from it, questions I still have, and going over a variety of topics which includes rare illness, internet child exploitation, sexual abuse, growing up rurally, and more about my life in the Canadian prairies. Today's topic is going to be a serious one, and this is the first time that I'm publicly talking about this topic in a very, very long time. And today's topic is going to be centered around abuse disguised as BDSM. And BDSM is an acronym that stands for bondage, dominance, submission, I believe sadism as well. It's masochism. It's a word that I've read more than I've said aloud in my life, that's for sure. My first experience of both pornography and BDSM was by my groomers. The first story I want to start this off with is, I guess it would be probably about maybe over 2 years at this point. And what happened basically is I was talking to a woman on a crisis hotline when I was in a very dark part in my life. And I remember speaking to the woman and saying to her, was this consensual? Was this just BDSM? And the woman actually acknowledging BDSM and saying that there is ways for consensual BDSM. And what happened to me was not consensual BDSM. She was able to give me her opinion of what I went through. And most of the time, when I have brought up to adults about my abuse that I've suffered and the grooming and the big part that BDSM had in it, and most adults skim away from the topic of BDSM or simply are not educated on it. And with them having no reference for it, no really knowledge on it, then it's really hard when a victim comes forward and BDSM was used as a weapon towards them and their only experience of it is with their abusers and taught by their abusers. And the people that they go to don't really have any education about that topic, but other people online on the internet normalize it. It makes you question yourself and adds to another level of the gaslighting of abuse. And that woman on the phone from the crisis center actually acknowledging it. It's sad because my bar was so low. I just wanted someone to listen to me, acknowledge what I was saying, and actually talk to me about it. Actually let me talk to them about it. And that woman just breaking it down logically and saying, no, if that was consensual, when you said stop, he would have stopped. There would have been a safe word. There would have been aftercare. Things that I never experienced. And that woman actually talking about it logically and breaking it down really, really helped me in that moment and helped my healing. Sorry. It's hard to talk about, but I've done a lot of healing. I am okay. But this is why I want to talk about this topic. Because no one was there to talk with me about it for most of my life. There was no public education around it. There was no dialogue about it. The only dialogue that there was about it was in pornography, which was shown to me by my groomers and abusers. And this needs to be talked on an educational level. This is why sex education as a whole is so important, because knowledge is power, education is power. And I wish I had been educated about these things, or it just even being talked about in a public arena from a non-sexualized point of view, like looking at it logically. That wasn't there. And what I've realized a lot, being so healed now and having so much healing that has taken place, I realized that I'm becoming a woman that little me would have looked up to. I have came so far with my healing, and I needed someone to talk about this when I was growing up. Technology, education has advanced so much. My story truly is an unfortunate event, but I know that there's others that have been victim of this, and a lot suffer in silence, as I do. But that's why I'm trying my best to use my voice to educate, speak, and simply just tell the truth of what happened to me, so that hopefully I can help others, show them that they're not alone, or at least show them that they can get through this. So the first thing that I wrote down, I have my little sheet, I show this on my Instagram story as well, of I don't do any scripts from my podcasting. I will write point notes. I wrote down some questions I have. These are just some overall questions that I am asking my viewers, or just asking into the void. Just a question's being asked. And the first one I have is, I would love like the answer from a psychiatrist, a psychologist. I feel like we don't have psychologists, psychiatrists ever speaking on the topic of BDSM, which it should be spoken about, because that's where we're talking about it on logical terms and in reference to mental illness, which could stop abuse and sexual abuse in those cases, right? But it's not talked about. It should be. This is why I'm talking about it. Anyways, but the question is it possible for a sadist to not be a narcissist? Because, like, the whole purpose of sadism, just bringing it down on logical terms, a sadist enjoys hurting someone else and relishes in their pain and enjoys it and sexualizes their pain. Narcissists get off on confusing, gaslighting, harming others, getting a reaction. Very similar. And I'm seeing that parallel, and I'm just wondering, on a psychiatric level, is it possible to be a sadist and not be a narcissist? So that's the question, and I am just genuinely curious. Another question I have, because as I said, I wish there was more people talking about this, and something that I kind of looked at ones in my area, and then I thought, well, I'd probably have to pay, and I didn't have money because it was going to legal fees and also my counseling fees. So, but what I'm talking about is femdoms. Is there any out there that would speak with me and would talk to me and help educate me and my viewers and just people around the world on consensual BDSM that they have practiced and their clients that they have? I remember the first pornography that I was shown by my first abuser when I was a minor was a BDSM one of a woman with her arms tied up, their dungeon equipment or whatever. And that was my first experience to it. So it was by a pedophile showing me, a minor, pornography. And what I actually found out when Groomer got arrested, he had a post on his Instagram, where he was talking about the rope tying. I think it's shibari, but he was doing that with his ex-wife. So he was engaging in BDSM, quote unquote, consensually. So I assume actively in the community as well, if he had the balls enough to post about it, and a rope, and I think it was a book about it. Now I'm going to move on to the heteronormativity that I was told by both of my groomers, and a lot of these Tumblr blogs, like a lot of them, they were like, only women are submissive. Women should be submissive to men. Men are the ones that dominate women. Is this not the same rhetoric that's being like spewed by like the Andrew Tate people? And then that's where it bears the question, are people who go under these umbrellas like sadists, are they more likely to be abusive people? And is it just like a glorification of that? Like, is it just like an umbrella for them to hide under, Yeah, so this was really confusing for me as a minor, and in a sad way, I've accepted it. Like, throughout the years, I truly believed. They told me every man feels this way. As I've said, I grew up in the country. I've been quite isolated. I didn't date, and I wasn't allowed to date until I was 16. Those are things that prevented me from being able to be educated. So the version of BDSM that I was taught by the pedophiles that groomed me, it was very extremely heteronormative. I genuinely believed it because it's all I was shown. And this further brainwashing. So that's basically like, that should have been a red flag, but I was a minor, I didn't understand, Next, I want to talk about two things that were never in interactions that I had with my abusers. Neither of my abusers asked for or made sure there was, or even mentioned about a safe word. And they had taught me that a woman doesn't say no to a man, and that this is why they hate their wives, and how I have to be a good girl. Like, that's the kind of rhetoric that they were representing BDSM under and using as a brainwashing tool against me as a minor. I never got to use a safe word, and I never had any aftercare. I remember actually my second abuser asking why I'd want to hug him and sit on his lap after, not sexually, but just embrace him and have him hold me. He'd ask, why do you want to do that? He'd look at me and I'd say, because I want to feel close to you. I want to feel loved. I understand now that the basis people say of BDSM is safe words and aftercare, but that's not something that was ever prioritized. This was my experience with BDSM. These are what my experiences with it were like. I just believe this dialogue needs to be spoken about. It needs to be talked about because education is power. I just want to prevent what happened to me from happening to more young victims. I want there to be education surrounding these topics from a non-pedophile, a non-male, a non-heteronormative, a non-men versus women dialogue. So I just want this dialogue to be spoken about more. I want more creators to talk about it. I want more people to share their experience around it. I'm talking about this because I feel like there's not enough dialogue. So please, if you are a professional, in the BDSM community and want to help spread awareness about it, please reach out to me. And I would love to be able to bring awareness to this topic more here on my podcast and with my social media. All right, so that's where I'll leave this topic today. This is my first time talking about BDSM on this podcast, but it will not be the last. I hope you guys enjoyed me talking about this. I hope that this has started the dialogue going. I hope that this makes you ask yourself questions. I hope this makes you want to educate yourself. I hope this makes you look at your relationship. If someone has been using these kind of tactics against you, I hope that makes you rethink that or plants that seed so you know to be careful when entering these kind of relationships or these kind of people. Okay, guys, God bless. Thank you so much for joining my Winslow podcast, and I will chat with you next time. Okay? Thank you, and goodbye.